Hola, bienvenidos! In today's video, we're going to be talking about special expressions that use the verb tener in Español. Let's take a look. So before we jump in on the special expressions, let's just do a little review, repaso of tener, just to make sure we're up to speed. So tener is the verb to have in Spanish, and in the present tense, it's a go verb. If you've worked with things like the preterite tense, the past, it's irregular in that tense, so keep an eye out there. But it is a go verb in the present tense. So our present tense conjugations are here. Yo tengo, I have. Tú tienes, you have. Él, ella, usted. He, she has, or you have, formal. Nosotros tenemos, we have. Vosotros tenéis, y'all in Spain have. Ellos, ellas, they have. Or ustedes, you have. Those are present tense conjugations. Now, of course, the expressions we're about to go over can be used in other tenses, but for all intents and purposes right now, we're just going to be using these present tense conjugations for the examples. Alright, so some awesome expressions with tener. Now, the first thing to note here is that usually when you see to be in Spanish, we think of ser and estar, but we're going to be working with tener for these certain expressions. In Spanish, there are certain expressions you just have to use tener for to express. So, for example, we've got to be and then how many years old. So, anytime you want to express your age, we use tener. Tener, then you add your número, años. If you want to talk about being hot, the heat is so much today, I'm very hot right now. Tener calor. Calor, with an A in the front. To be careful. Tener cuidado. To be cold. Tener frío. To be afraid. Tener miedo. To be in a hurry. Tener prisa. To be correct. Tener razón. To be thirsty. Tener sed. And then to be tired. Tener sueño. Tener hambre is to be hungry. So, literally, if we translated these, it would be like saying to have a certain number of years. But in Spanish, like I said, tener just has to be used to express some expressions with to be, and this is a list of really pertinent ones that come up quite frequently, worthwhile to note and practice with. You might be looking at this list thinking, well, it's kind of extensive, like this is a lot. But it's kind of ingenious if you think about it. Like, you really only have to know one verb really, really well and how to conjugate it, and you can express all these things by just changing the follow-up word or words. It's kind of brilliant. So just be aware that these are some of the expressions that are most often used with tener. Another special phrase that uses tener is to express to feel like. So if you want to say, oh, I feel like going to the beach today, or I feel like watching TV, or I feel like eating a little later than usual. We have this nifty expression, tener ganas de, and then an infinitive for whatever you actually feel like doing. Now, when we use this expression, if we break it down, so in Spanish when we have multiple verbs, we conjugate the first one typically. So tener will be the one that's conjugated in this case. And then after de, we never conjugate. So whatever the activity is that you feel like doing, we're not going to conjugate it. It'll stay in its unconjugated or infinitive form. Now you might be thinking, but señora, ganas. There's a verb next to a verb, and this one's got an ending already. Back up a second. So you might have seen the verb ganar, which means to win or to earn most often. This is actually a noun. It's not a verb at all. It's the plural of gana. So gana is a desire or a want or an interest or an urge or craving. So it fits right in here because you're saying literally like to have an interest of and then whatever the interest is. So ganas is actually a noun in this case, so it can fit perfectly right here. So if we look at my little notes here, basically, just remember to conjugate tener, leave whatever the activity is as an infinitive. So in my example, I feel like going to the beach. Tengo ganas de ir a la playa. Tengo ganas de ir a la playa. So I have tengo conjugated to reflect who's doing the action and when. Ganas de never changes in this formula. And then ir for to go. And then all my extra info to make the rest of the sentence interesting. Alright, last formula we're going to work with that uses tener. When we want to talk about obligations or to have to do something, that uses tener as well. So the formula we would use for this is tener que plus infinitive. So once again, tener is the first verb, so we're going to conjugate that when we use this in a sentence. And then whatever we have to do, we leave that in its unconjugated or infinitive form. So again, we do not conjugate whatever the obligation is. So for example, if I have to say I have to study for the quiz, tengo que estudiar para la prueba. Tengo que estudiar para la prueba. Really helpful phrase to talk about obligations in Spanish that happens to use tener. Alright, and that's our video on expressions with tener. So to recap, we talked about special tener expressions that are like to be in English. So like to be cold, to be hot, to be hungry, to be a certain age. All of these things are expressions that use tener in Spanish. Then we followed up with two special expressions. So we've got tener ganas de plus infinitive to talk about what you feel like doing. And then we've got tener que plus infinitive to talk about obligations. These are all special uses of the verb tener that can help expand your use of the verb in sentences and speaking. Muy bien. Gracias, nos vemos y buena suerte.